very good morning to you and welcome to the news at 10 on NTA News 24, reaching you live from Abuja. I'm Chimobi Walter Naji. Here is the details. Abducted Kankara schoolboys released 1 week after ordeal. Arrived Katsina. National Economic Council expresses alarm over spike in Nigeria's COVID-19 dailies. Senate considers maternal mortality bill to reverse alarming death rates. Many thanks for being with us. Now, reports just reaching to the studios indicate that 344 abducted Kankara schoolboys have now arrived in Katsina State. And the Katsina State Governor, Aminu Bello Masari, has confirmed the release of abducted schoolboys from Government Science Secondary School, Kankara. The governor disclosed this while speaking via Zoom on NTA Network News earlier Thursday night.
4 of the students have been handed over to security agency. I think we have recovered most of the boys, it's not all of them. So we are making arrangements to transport them to this night.
Will the children be released to their parents immediately, Your Excellency?
Of course, immediately after medical examination, we will release them to their parents.
Okay, tell us, Your Excellency, what is your government thinking of doing next, to secure the people, and what lessons have been learned from this very ugly experience?
Well, in the first place, all our boarding schools, we have fenced them and secured them. But what it means now, before school resumes, we must make sure, working with the police and the other security agencies, that sufficient armed security are posted to schools. In addition, on our own part, we are going to increase the number of the private security that we employ in each school to make sure that we don't experience what we have experienced in the last 6 days. Certainly, again, we are going to work with the communities that live around the schools to form another outfit of security that will help security agencies in the school and within the school premises to make sure that all is quiet and normal.
Now, in regards to this success already recorded at the moment, what support did you get, from other states and agencies, towards this success recorded?
I think the security agencies, they have done very well. Earlier in the operation, where the children were being kept was discovered, and the whole area was secured and cordoned off by security agencies with the instruction that they should notify a single shop, because we have already established an indirect contact to try to make sure that we secure the release of the children unharmed. We did not advise the security to use any firearms so that there wouldn't be any collateral damage. We thank God that they took our advice and not a single shot was fired. And so far, all the children have been recovered alive.
All right, and more information on the whereabouts of the abducted boys will come your way in the course of this bulletin. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari is reassuring the nation that his administration will not leave anything to chance until all Nigerians still in captivity in parts of the country regain freedom and reunited with their families, while the Boko Haram insurgency and other acts of criminality brought to a halt. The president stated this while speaking to NTA State House correspondent Adamu Sambu shortly after the release of the abducted students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara in Katsina State.
We thank God that the law enforcement agencies, in this case especially the military, the army, and the governor worked extremely hard. And as soon as they got them, the governor rang me and informed me, and I congratulated him and the army that organized the operation and so on.
How do you personally feel about this development?
The military is well trained. I think they are sufficiently motivated. The governor, I'm very impressed with the governor. He has been, up and doing since it happened. And I congratulated him that the children have been successfully recovered.
There are many Nigerians still in captivity across the country. Is there any hope that they will soon be released?
Well, we are doing our best. Remember when we closed the borders, we found out that still somehow the terrorists or the abductors still get weapons and ammunition. They still take people hostages. They are collecting millions of naira. We have a lot of work ahead of us, and some of the things we may not say. I don't want to compromise the security and the efforts being put by the law enforcement agencies. But really, we are acutely aware of our responsibilities. Our responsibility is to secure the country. So we have a lot of work to do.
What message do you have to the armed forces and other security services in the country in view of the recurring incidents of kidnapping and other acts of terrorism in parts of the country?
Well, armed forces know their job. I meet them. We have security meetings from time to time. They must be very clear of my instructions. Their efforts is not good enough for me. Our responsibility, as I said, is to secure this country for all the citizens to do their businesses without any problem. We haven't achieved that yet, but we will keep on trying.
What can you assure Nigerians going forward as you continue to execute your mandate?
I will continue to be loyal to this country. I have asked for this mandate. I got it. I must not advance any excuse for failing to perform. But the insecurity, I'm extremely worried about it, and I hope next year it will be different. Those among the law enforcement agencies that remain in charge will be extremely busy.
Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you very much.
And away from security matters now, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and CDC has announced 1,145 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria. The latest figures released are the highest so far, and they are bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 76,207 infections in the country. A breakdown of the latest figures indicates that the new cases from 24 states, and Lagos is taking the lead with the highest number for the day, having 459 new cases, while FCT has 145 new cases. Others are Kaduna with 138, Plateau 80, Katsina 70, Gombe 52, Niger has 31, Kano 23, and Bayelsa recorded 21 new cases, while Bauchi and Ondo states have 18 new cases each. Rivers 17, Ogun and Oyo states have 12 new cases each. Edo and Nasarawa states recorded 8 new cases each. Ebonyi has 7, Osun 6, Ekiti and Kebbi states have 5 new cases each. Borno has 4, Jigawa 3, and Akwa Ibom recorded 2 new cases. Today's tally is completed by Anambra State, recording 1 new case. Confirmed cases by state, Lagos has the highest number with 25,895, followed by the FCT with 9,053 cases. And Kaduna comes third with 4,236 cases. With the latest development, total number of active cases stands at 7,896, while 67,110 cases have been successfully treated and discharged, and an unfortunate 1,201 patients have lost their lives. The nation may have to go into another round of lockdown, going by the increasing wave of cases of COVID-19 pandemic. Though this is not on the list of measures being considered by members of the National Economic Council, NEC, the council, however, expressed alarm at the spike in COVID-19 cases in Nigeria and decided to act on the strict enforcement of measures to contain the spread of the disease across the country. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports on the National Economic Council virtual meeting, which held this Thursday.
The National Economic Council received a briefing on the coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria and notes with serious concern the increasing number of cases in many states across the country. Sadly, as the members noted, the country is now experiencing a huge resurgence of COVID-19 patients needing intensive care, and the existing health facilities are fast becoming overwhelmed.
And so if a state decides to take an action on lockdown, and it feels that yes, it will be enforced, then the state has also a right to do that. So, but what we did was to go back and still put serious restriction, and then emphasize this issue of risk communication. And so, first of all, is continuous engagement. Otherwise, you remember that we had the lockdowns, and then the effect of the lockdown. But what we saw again in essence, protests here and there. So that was why we're not saying that measures may not reach that level, but then before we get that, let that be the last resort.
Members of the council resolved to enlarge its current COVID-19 ad hoc committee led by the governor of Delta State and further mandate the committee to urgently consider and propose additional measures to manage the current situation. Traditional, social and religious leaders are therefore urged to play their own part by promptly taking responsible and decisive actions to help stop the spread and upsurge of the virus in Nigeria.
Act of the abductors as not only criminal and lawless, but a deliberate attempt to sow seeds of fear in people. The members, while supporting immediate steps already taken by the federal government and state governments to rescue the boys, urge for a more effective collaboration between security agencies and the communities to ensure that such despicable acts do not repeat itself anywhere in the country.
Members of the National Economic Council also commiserated with families of the Kankara school boys who were abducted in Katsina State, while also consoling with the entire people and government of the state. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NT News.
All right, thank you very much, Jide. And this is the news at 10 on NTA News 24. Still ahead. The meeting between other traditional rulers of the Many thanks for being with us on the news. You recall I told you earlier that all 344 rescue students of Government Science Secondary School, Kankara, have now arrived Government House, Katsina State. They are looking dirty, but in good condition. All right, so there's the 344 rescued students of government secondary school, Kankara. They just arrived the government house, Katsina, this morning. They appear to be looking a bit unkept, but however, in good condition. Meanwhile, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 says that there is a growing number of cases requiring hospitalization and use of ventilators nationwide, while warning Nigerians experiencing symptoms to stay away from the public and self-isolate. Nigerian reports on Thursday's briefing by the task force.
For the first time since March, the chairman of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, is absent at the national briefing. This follows his decision to self-isolate and monitor the national briefing after some members of his family tested positive for COVID-19, even though he and his wife tested negative. Minister of Aviation Hadis Irika, who stood in for the PTF chairman, says the country is in a difficult phase of COVID-19 resurgence.
Lives have been lost, still being lost, but we must slow down the pace of the spread.
If we include those who are in hospital with severe symptoms for being observed, the need for more hospital beds will become acute. And this is an indication of what the second wave is.
If you have symptoms of COVID, please do not enter a public transport. Please do not come into office. One of the commonest symptoms we have been seeing is that of a loss of smell. So if you cannot smell your perfume and you've had a cold, then you probably need to have a test done.
The PTF notes that the current surge in cases calls for attitudinal change among Nigerians and the need to intensify protective measures.
Every gathering has a leader, every office has a leader, every church has a leader, every restaurant has an owner. It is really the responsibility of these leaders to ensure that these non-pharmaceutical interventions that we've been talking about are implemented.
In the coming days, some major decisions will be made public by the task force in consultation with President Buhari to slow down community transmission of COVID-19. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
And in view of recent spike in COVID-19, the Federal Ministry of Environment is upscaling the contamination of target areas by contained spreading of the virus. Onegie Fineface tells us more.
Plateau State Governor Simon Bakola Long and Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Gary Barbari, are among many Nigerians who have tested positive to COVID-19 in the second wave of the virus. Nigeria also recorded its highest daily infection of 930 cases this Wednesday. Concerned about this recent spike in cases, the Federal Ministry of Environment is revamping its strategy of decontamination of public places.
In the whole, maintenance of sterility of premises, containment, dwellings, offices is the main objective of the Ministry's decontamination, disinfection intervention in order for their users to be safeguarded from letting the virus and other microbes into their systems. It is once more necessary to re-echo the need for Nigerian citizens to adhere strictly to the provisions of the COVID-19 control protocol as the main barrier of the virus spread.
The ministry wants Nigerians to take non-pharmaceutical preventive measures more seriously, insisting that only licensed environmental health officers should be engaged for decontamination exercises. In Abuja, Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
Members of the Committee on the Roles of Traditional Rulers in Governance rose from their meeting in Abuja with a resolve to come up with an acceptable template that will design a constitutional role for them. The Aguma of Basa, Turunku Chiefdom, David Wadi Tukura, disclosed this shortly after their meeting in Abuja. Anthony Folsom reports.
The committee under the auspices of the Northern Traditional Rulers Council has Justice C.D. Bagye Mohammed as its chairman and 9 others as members, including Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed. Its mandate, among other things, is to look into ways traditional rulers can be brought into governance to stabilize the polity.
As you all know, we are facing many challenges, and we're working together with the critical stakeholders, the federal government, the state governments, the local governments, in ensuring that the Nigerian polity is given greater stability in light of the many existential challenges facing us right now. But much more importantly, a role in the security architecture of Nigeria to ensure that we do not experience the intelligence hiccups that create the failures that make actions either too late or ineffective.
Debunking the notion that the committee was set up in the aftermath of the Kankara abduction, the Aguma of Basa pointed out that the committee has been in existence before last week's incident, a move that explains their proactive disposition.
This shows you that people have not been sleeping. Brains have been stormed to look for new ways of looking at these issues. We are trying to think outside the box, because this is a time for creative thinking. We cannot be doing the same thing in the same old ways and expect new results. The purpose of this meeting is to look for new ways of doing new things in better ways.
In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
In the meantime, the House of Representatives is seeking alteration to some constitutional provisions pertaining to election of candidates to the offices of the President and state governors. The alteration seeks to address a defect in the Constitution in order to enable elected presidents and governors to retain their seats in circumstances where their running mates are found to have defects in submitted documents and qualifications. National Assembly correspondent Lamiali reports.
While debating the general principles of the bill, House members pointed out that it is inconsistent and illogical for an elected president or governor to lose the seat as a result of perjury or forgery by his running mate.
We recently had an experience in one of the states where a candidate for governorship lost his ticket on the basis only of the fact that there was a defect in the documents submitted by his deputy.
The bill passed second reading and was referred to the Constitution Review Committee. Also referred to the Constitution Review Committee is the bill seeking to alter Section 215, which deals with recruitment of police constables and cadets, sponsored by Representative Yusuf Gagdi.
Section B is introduced to the bill that the responsibility for the recruitment of recruit constable into the Nigerian police and recruit cadet into the Nigerian Police Academy shall be the duty of the Inspector General of Police.
House members during plenary passed a resolution to investigate alleged killing of 2 men by police personnel in Aguta local government area of Anambra State, as moved by Representative Chinedu Oga. The lawmakers adopted a motion from Representative Bukar Gana urging the federal government to put in place a mechanism of evacuating Nigerians taking refuge in Niger Republic following an attack at the camp sheltering the refugees in the far region, which left scores dead.
If urgent steps are not taken by the federal government, more people may also lose their lives, most importantly, the vulnerable ones and the elderly.
The House approved the report of the Committee on Niger Delta Development Commission's budget of 453.2 billion naira for the year ending March 31st, 2021. At the commencement of plenary, Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila announced the defection of Representative Sam Onuigbo from PDP to APC. Plenary was adjourned to Monday, December 21st from the National Assembly. Lami Ali, NTA News.
This news at 10 is reaching you on NTA News 24. Still ahead. Sustainable Survey Coordination for Nigeria underway as Surveyor General interacts with security agencies.
You cannot import sugar from elsewhere and say you want to export it to Nigeria. It is not coming from you. It must be something that you manufacture in your own country.